right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about Hex in this video, more specifically looking at the narratives, milestones, and price performance going into Q4 of 2021. We just started a Q4 here about a day ago on October 1st, and we've seen really interesting things for the past 7 quarters of Hex's history. So we're going to look into this chart here that you can find on LookIntoHex.com, as well as others, right? I don't want to overwhelm you too much here at the beginning. Let's start with this chart, right? This is the quarterly ROI chart. We've seen that every single quarter to date has been profitable for Hex. If we look as far back as Q1 of 2020, and we like to look at full quarters because we know that Hex did indeed launch in Q4 of 2019, but it was December, right? December 2nd or 3rd, depending on where you were in the world. And so you didn't have a full quarter to look at, right? So we like to look at the full quarters here, which is why we start in Q1 of 2020. And so every single quarter that started Q1 2020 to where we are now has been a profitable quarter to date by different amounts, right? I have the amounts over here where we actually have the Google sheet. I'll have to zoom in here, but here, while it's zooming in, can you guys see that? That might be a little small, right? But we have the numbers here at a 4.7x, that first quarter, 7.7x, 1.2x, 3.4x, 1.2x, 4.6x, and 5.7x. So the worst quarters were, still about a 25 to 30% gain from the beginning to the end of the quarter. So if you are the trader type, which obviously I don't recommend, just a simple strategy: buying at the first day of the quarter, selling at the last day of the quarter, historically has yielded these returns, right? It'd be interesting to see the product of these actually. Now I'm tempted. See, like, if this would have outperformed just holding. Should we do it? Let's do it real quick. So we'll round to 4.7 times 7.7, 0.28 times, bear with me 1 second. Not really, right? You would have experienced a 5,000x, which is not bad, but price is up, what, like 8,000x currently? And then with staking, you're talking like 16,000x or more. So, I mean, it's a strategy. Definitely hasn't outperformed just holding or holding and staking. But yeah, it's one strategy. The point being, every single quarter to date has been profitable, which is outlined here, illustrated here by these different curves, right? And where we are now is back here, right? We just started our new quarter, but we can see where we ended up at. On the last quarter, we ended up at a 5.7x from the beginning of the quarter, putting it, right, printing the second highest appreciating quarter to date. So that's pretty huge. Not only that, it actually pulled up the average. You see how it curves up a little now to where your average quarter is now 4.3x. So just some stats for you there, some numbers. And if we saw an average quarter for this next quarter, Q4 of 2020, what are we talking about? What kind of targets are we talking about? 4.356 times, let's say we started this quarter at about 42 cents. We're talking about $1.83, right? I just did it on the calculator real quick. And so does that converge with other models? It kind of does. It kind of does. If we look at our Hex versus ETH extension from FIT, where is that chart actually? Let me find it. Right here, right? It takes us into the pink, as we know, into October. And that's not to say we don't have to hit it this month, right? If you look at this double peak scenario, we've talked multiple times about how it doesn't have to play out exactly like this double peak scenario. Maybe we see, a peak here in the middle, which would put us in February, or it might not even hit pink, right? We might hit purple a few times, or it might take until this last date. But I would say October this month is the earliest we could possibly see a rally up into the pink, the absolute earliest, just based on this fractal. But it's looking like the Hex price performance is lagging behind this ETH fractal. So we've seen, right, Hexen underperform the ETH fractal, overperform it by a lot, underperform it by a decent amount, more or less ending up at the same spot, but underperforming the whole way. And then this region of overperformance, historically aligning them, and then pretty much parity. The models right here, really, really nice parity. This move was just spot on textbook. I have no idea how it was so close. But after that, again, we're kind of breaking away from it. Just want to point that out. What does that mean? Does it mean we can't reach these levels? I don't think so. Again, I've speculated multiple times how it could be a more drawn out version of something like this, right? We're back here. We just went basically straight from yellow, almost straight from yellow. What did we do? Almost straight from yellow into pink, right? We had a slight pause around here, but more or less just shot straight up. Whereas over here, after yellow, I mean, we hit green, got rejected, hit blue, depending on which one you're looking at, right? If you look at Fibonacci spaced, we definitely hit blue, right? This one hit it perfectly, up to blue, back down to green. So a more methodical, lengthened approach than something like what happened over here. So it gives me pause and makes me think, okay, if we're just chugging along and stair-stepping, maybe we hit purple, October, November, come back down to blue, and maybe hit pink, February or into May, right? May, we're talking about $25 is pink. So the longer it takes for us to hit pink, I mean, the better, to be frank. If we align this with the Pulse narrative, which is like, okay, Pulse might launch any moment now, really, this month, next month, December, but most people would guess, I would assume the majority of the guesses would be this quarter, Q4 of 2021. And so that puts us up into here January, right? January 1st of 2022. So who's to say we don't see, a move into pink into the end of the year, into the Pulse launch or something like that. Maybe we have a local peak, buy the rumor, sell the news, sell the actual event for some weird reason, right? People are irrational, right? I can't think of any rational reason why the Pulse launch would be a negative externality for Hex, but people are irrational. People are irrational. So I can't really predict what's going to happen there, right? A lot of market participants. It's a lot of moving parts, right? Too many moving parts to give a reasonable, accurate prediction for like price or local peaks or any of that. But I mean, just assuming, right? This is just a thought experiment. If price were to rally into these levels, we're talking about, okay, maybe it hits $1, maybe not $2 in October. Maybe just hits $1, comes back down, consolidates. Maybe, we see some bullish formation before a rally into the pink. Again, it depends when we hit it, right? Pink, end of the year, we're talking about $5, and going into May and summer of next year, we're talking about, $30 to $50. So it depends, right? You could look at this kind of these macro U formations that have played out. I kind of noticed this earlier. At the beginning, you have this, again, just this sort of parabola, this U formation, and then a way more lengthened one, right? Where this one took about 6 months. Maybe we're looking at one that's playing out over the course of like 18 months up into the pink. I like this curvature, which makes me more bullish on thinking we could actually reach pink because, no one is guaranteeing we're going to hit pink. This is all speculation based on previous extension from this model. But, that's to say that extension has significance and the model has significance, which it does have a few data points, right? Of significance on the bottom. The peak extensions, I guess, are more speculative, but these regions are much more, defined by the actual math. It has more data, right? And in stats, you want more data. But I mean, look at this. We got rejected from the blue and hit the green and are kind of bouncing off the green, kind of riding it. So this model, I like what I see. But again, if we had this sort of U formation play out, we're talking about into the end of the year. This is my hope, right? Again, the Q4 2021 average quarter would put us, what did I say, like $1.83. So this is what I'm thinking. Potentially, we might see these regions at the end of the year. It's just my speculation because we started the year, around here. Let's just say we started the year around red. it's been a journey. We're chugging into orange, yellow, green, blue, right? So this whole year has been a journey. The narrative is powerful. All the metrics are pointing up. Adoption is pointing up. Again, the narrative is strong, and I wouldn't be surprised. We're going into the end of the year with strength, right? We have strength going into the end of the year, so maybe we end the year strong, and that is just based on saying the trend is your friend. That cliche statement that the trend is your friend. Like you don't want to stand in front of a moving train, right? This thing clearly has had a trend. It's clearly gone up tens of X's this year alone, right? If at the bottom of the year, if you'd bought at the bottom to the top, you're talking about like almost 100X just this year alone. Local bottom, local peak this year. So this thing clearly has a trend, and the fundamentals are good. Again, the narrative is good. I don't want to repeat too much, but I wouldn't be surprised to be looking at these levels, eyeballing these levels end of the year. So blue, we're talking about 65 cents to like $1.65. So 65 cents to $1.65. If you're a little more conservative, green, you're talking about just $1. Right, $1 end of year seems almost inevitable at this point. It's just about a 2x way. But for the people who are even more bullish, you could be looking up to purple being close to $3, and again pink being about $5 and change, right? $5 and change. So I would like to see end of the year strong. Go into the end of the year with some strength. Start reaching these levels for the first time since basically May of last year, given it a good year and a half to kind of flush out all the weak hands, the paper hands, all of the free claimers, the non-believers, the hyperinflationary reapers of those gains who just kind of are done with the market, used Hex, done with it. Like there are those people and who remain pretty much protect the price, and a protected price is a good thing for this thesis that hopes it goes into these levels. Again, this is just optimism. This is just my thoughts, right? Nothing else. But this is the regression rainbow. You can find it on LookIntoHex.com. You can look at these charts like Hex versus BTC, which, I mean, this is what happens when you remove negative externalities from an asset, right? Where Bitcoin is cool, right? It's cool. It was cool. It had, for the time, it was an innovative design. For the most part, solved the double spend problem, but it introduced a bunch of unnecessary negative externalities, like the miners over time start dumping, and so on. And so if you build something better, right, and there's no incentive to hold other than the price going up, right? There's a locking mechanism, but there's no incentive to lock up other than like just locking up. There's no yield in Bitcoin. So this is what happens when you design something that gives incentive to hold and protect the price, and you remove the negative externality of people having to dump the inflation, right, to keep up with the operation that gives them the ability to inflate the currency in the first place, right? You don't have to sell your Hex to maintain your any overhead for staking, right? You don't need to. Staking it's a virtual system, right? It's digitized. You don't have to waste real world resources, right? Because cost doesn't equal value. But this is what happens, right? This is what happens when you remove these negative externalities. You get the same amount of gains in a quicker time, and then you start eyeballing these even higher levels, right? Like the question was raised recently, like what happens when we blast through this? Like, what are we eyeballing? At that point, it's like, well, sky's the limit. I mean, unprecedented territory. At this point, this seems to be the highest appreciating asset, the fastest and highest appreciating asset of all time. I mean, it's outperforming Ethereum and its launch, right? It already passed that 1600 peak Ethereum had in 2018, early 2018, and it's consolidating longer. Then Ethereum just kind of wicked up here and then it kind of crashed. Hex is actually consolidating and forming a bull flag at these levels. So it's eyeballing Ethereum's lifetime ROI, just about 2x away or so. Again, if it hits $1, we're talking about it's outperformed Ethereum's lifetime gains, and we could be seeing that this quarter. Again, these models converge, and Hex price and performance is running away from a lot of these models, specifically these two, Hex versus BTC, Hex versus ETH. So that's why we have something like this to keep it a little more sane, right? Comparing Hex to itself. That's what this chart does. And so it keeps it contained a little more, whereas Hex can just run away on something like this. But yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about this? Like, I've talked about how this peak up here would be a really high peak. It would be about $5 to $7, right? If Hex hit over here. And I mean, we've hit these things much quicker. So why couldn't it happen, right? And just about, this says it could happen in about 3 months, but that's a mega bullish target, right? $5 would literally be, it would be pink, right? End of the year, pink on the regression rainbow. So think about this, pink end of the year on the regression rainbow would be something like Hex being like right here, which it wouldn't completely surprise me. I mean, the fact that it reached this level this quickly, why couldn't it reach this level this quickly? We'll see, right? We'll see. Time will tell. This quarter will tell. It literally just started, right? We're just about one candle close or two into the quarter. And what is it like? I think it's down like 4% on the quarter so far. So we're just starting off. We'll really get to know what's going on probably around like day 20 or so. You can really tell when some of these quarters diverge. For example, these low performing ones, this blue one was already down. This yellow one hadn't done much. But then again, it's a little too early to tell even here on day 20 because this red one hadn't done much either, but it went on to be an average performing quarter. So we'll see, right? I think there's a good time, probably like by day 40, you probably already know what's going on. Yeah, by day 40, the lowest performers were basically not performing too well, and everything else was doing pretty okay and ended pretty okay. So yeah, by day 40, which is like November 10th, we'll really know the direction of the quarter, if it's down, sideways, or up. But again, every quarter at the end has been profitable. So if we continue this trend, the quarter will end at over 42 cents, which is good, right? Which is what we like to hear. Our risk metric looks good, just at 0.36. You can access this on the VIP list, link in the description to that, including many other things. We'll be knocking out that quarterly report, working on that, so that should be ready probably by Sunday, same time we release the private videos. But yeah, I mean, we're still consolidating, right? We're between blue and green for the most part. We've only ever really just hung out there for this amount of time or more back here when we came in, into it from above. So that's kind of interesting. The fact that we're just kind of hanging out here. So it shows that we can before a major move, right? For about, how long was this? About a month or so. We just kind of hung out in this channel. We've already been hanging out since September 5th. We're already coming up on about a month. So we've hung out in it for, I would say, long enough to where, okay, it's time for a move. And let's be real, this is a bull flag. It's a huge pull to the upside with a sort of symmetrical triangle that you see here. The technical targets of which are, again, $1 to $2. So this $1 to $2 range seems very possible for this quarter, Q4 of 2021, right? The regression rainbow model, check. The Hex versus ETH extension from FIT, you could argue that's within the regression rainbow model, check. Quarterly ROI says it, check. These bull flags say it, check. Right? Is it within the sanity of what it's done versus ETH and BTC? Yes. I mean, what else do you need? Right? What else do you need? This is the video for today. It's gone on a little longer than usual, actually. So I do appreciate you watching. Be subscribed by now. Let's get to 9,000 and 10,000 subs. Can we do it in October? Who knows? You guys literally did that last month. You like increased the sub count by like 2K in a month. Absolutely nuts. I appreciate it. Check out the links in the description below. LookIntoHex.shop, LookIntoHex.com, LookIntoHex.com/VIP. The Telegram group, t.me/LookIntoHex. We're almost at 1,000 members in there. you guys are running that chat. Every time I go in there, there's convos going on. We also have memes. What other? Twitter, right? Almost 4K there. Twitter.com/Gerardo. All those links always in the description below. We just kind of resurrected the Instagram for LookIntoHex. It's just at LookIntoHex, posting some cool infographics on there. If you guys weren't familiar, I was actually the one who created a lot of those infographics back in the day that were like, if you'd invested 1K like 12 months ago, and then I would compare like Bitcoin, Facebook, Tesla, like Fiverr once, and Hex. I think I threw Dogecoin in there a few times. But it would just show Hex out like destroying everything, like turning 1K into 100K or 300K. So those infographics, if you saw them early on circulating, that was before I started making videos. Those were me. And so we're resurrecting that Instagram page. You guys blew it up with like an extra 100 followers in a day when I asked. So yeah, go check that out. We're just kind of trying to have presence everywhere, right? And get this thing blowing up. But that's the video. I appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you in a future video. Peace.